Okay. Right, I'd like to welcome everybody here within Orkney to this OREF talk about electric vehicles, and also to our Periscope viewers who are in the submarine that's below that iPhone there. So hello, welcome to Orkney, and we're delighted that Jonathan and Chris, who's joining us from Aberdeen, are going to talk to us about an adventure that they had going from John O Groats to Land's End.
And back.
And broke 2 world records in the process.
Yeah.
So, without more ado, pass on to Jonathan, and thanks all for coming.
So, thank you very much. And I'm a member of OREF, the Orkney Renewable Energy Forum. So if I repeat myself, it's for the benefit of people that don't know anything about Orkney, so just bear with. And I've never done a PowerPoint presentation, so anyway. So I run my own business, but I'm still passionate about renewables, hence the reason why I'm fortunate enough to be a member of OREF. So say my name's Jonathan Porterfield, and on my laptop via Skype is my good friend Chris Ramsey. Who do you work for, Chris? Come on, spill the beans.
I work for a well-known oil and gas company. That's all I can probably pretty much say.
He works for the Devil's Fuel, but he's a really nice guy, and he actually owns a Nissan Leaf, and he too is passionate about all things green. So, the vehicle that we used for this mad trip on this, September the 21st through to the 25th was just a normal standard 24 kilowatt hour Nissan Leaf that Nissan, via Chris's contacts, kindly lent us for the trip. So we arranged for it to be delivered to Scrabster. We then put it on the boats from Scrabster to Stromness, where through support from Aquaterra and EMEC, and also the sign company in Hatston, sign here, no, Art Machine, thank you, and they contributed some of the graphics and came up with the graphic we had on the back door, which was a map of the UK with leaves, sort of self-explanatory as to what we were doing. So that was our goal, was Land's End to John O Groats and back in 48 hours. We also use social media a lot, and you can see from the back of our t-shirts, that's your cue to turn around, Chris. We used the hashtag chat and charge, which we both found that when we were charging at rapid charges, people would come up and chat to us. So we used that on Twitter primarily, and people would actually follow our route as we went up down country. So why did we want to do it? What was the purpose? Well, lots of people, particularly those in the motor trade, go, oh, those electric cars, yeah, you can drive it for about 10 miles, then you've got to charge it for 3 days before you can get anywhere else. That sort of analogy is what a lot of people come up with. Chris, you got any thoughts as to why you wanted to do it with me?
I think, well, you know, why I wanted to do it with you. I mean, obviously we don't know each other very well, so that was kind of a challenge just to get to know you a bit more.
It was.
But the journey itself is such an iconic route.
Yes.
And it's been deemed that only petrol cars can do it, as you alluded to. So I think we just wanted to prove to people that electric cars could do this journey, and that electric cars are for driving outside of the city.
Yes.
Because that's still a big perception of people. You shouldn't leave the city with an electric car.
Right.
So to tackle this iconic route, and also just to basically demonstrate to everybody that electric cars can be a viable transport for going.
Yeah, I see there's feedback.
I'm going to move my phone from my computer because I might be
I think it's feedback, yeah. So the previous record was set in 2011 for this run in an electric vehicle by a Tesla Roadster, which is basically a Lotus Elise. And they did it in 37 hours, just one way. So 37 hours, that was in 2011. Now the Tesla Roadster at that time had a range of around 250 miles. But the infrastructure wasn't in place, so a lot of his time was taken with obviously charging up. So that's what we wanted to beat, and that's the reason that we wanted to do it. Now, to do anything like this, it did obviously require some planning. Like a conventional car, you know, you set off from Gills Bay and think, well, eventually I'll hit a petrol station somewhere on the route south. You don't give it too much thought, because every town has a petrol station. But with electric cars and where we are now, you do have to do some planning, which involved obviously finding out where the rapid chargers were. So basically, in simple terms, you can charge an electric car 3 ways. One is with a 3-pin plug. 1 hour plugged in with a 3-pin plug will give you about 9 miles range. Then we have level 2 chargers that will give you around 15-mile range for 1 hour. And then you have the rapid chargers that will charge the electric car to 80% in around 20 to 30 minutes. So the rapid chargers were the key to doing this run, and are still the key to doing any long run. So you obviously have to find where the location is, whether they're rapids or level 2 chargers. Now there's various websites that can tell you this. Obviously the distance between the charges is vital, so depending on temperature, wind, rain, etc., then the mileage can be limited. But on average, we banked at around 45 to 60 miles. Chris, would that be right, between chargers?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was some along the route that we hit about 60, 70 miles.
Yes.
But predominantly, yeah, about 40 to 60.
That's right. So the other things we had to do, so we'd have postcodes and addresses, but the accessibility off our given route was something we obviously had to factor in. Contact phone numbers for the different providers. There's basically 2, it's Ecotricity and Charge Your Car. They're the ones that provide some smart cards that swipe the charger to make it start. So, and the providers. So all that all culminated in quite a boring looking slide, but basically where we set off, the distance to the next charger, what the charger was, how long it would take, postcodes, phone numbers, etc., etc. So I won't bore you with every statistic, but basically they're all the things that we had to factor in. So it was September the 21st on a Monday, and what time did we leave? What time did we meet up on John O Groats, Chris?
It was about 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
If I remember rightly.
Because you drove up from Aberdeen and stayed near John O Groats, didn't you?
Stayed in Helmsdale, yeah.
Yes.
Very well, baby.
Yeah. So we set off 10 o'clock, didn't we, Monday morning?
Yeah.
So that isn't a giant. That isn't me. It was the perspective of the camera. It was. We had a chap. Several people were hanging around. Of course, we caused a bit of attention. So he just stood there. It just looked like a perfect shot. But he is, 20 foot nearer the camera than the actual car. Can you remember who else was starting off at John O Groats that made us feel really guilty?
Yes, we were quite smug, if I remember right, when we turned up thinking, oh, we're going to do this adventure, and then we met a guy who was there in trainers and a tracksuit, and he couldn't believe that we were driving from John O Groats to Land's End in an electric car. So when we asked him what he was doing, he said he was running from John O Groats to Land's End, and it just made us feel what we were doing wasn't that great compared to him. But he seemed to be more impressed by what we were doing.
Yeah.
So it was quite strange, but we did feel quite humbled at that point, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, that's right. So we left John O Groats 10 o'clock, and just before we left we thought, hey, let's just pop it into the sat-nav to see what it looks like. The car nearly had a fit, and that was the route that it predicted we should take. Now, can you see that slide, Chris?
The photographs?
Yeah, can you see the slide I've just put up?
I've had to turn off my
all right, okay.
It was causing feedback.
So this is our first stop at Helmsdale, and this was the couple that ran the bed and breakfast that Chris stayed at, and they were equally fascinated. So they actually met us at the charger, which we thought, oh, that's nice, that's sweet. But because we were using different methods to communicate our route, we were using Glimpse, which is a GPS app for your phone, where people can tune in and see where you exactly are in the UK, your speed, your direction, etc. So we're being followed on Glimpse. We use Twitter with the hashtag Chat and Charge. We use Facebook. So everyone was on social media was keeping track of our progress, which meant we were then getting tweets from saying, "Oh, I can see you're at Glencoe," and and we did make the unfortunate thing of putting our smartphones in our pockets and then going to the bathroom. And then people would say, "What are you doing driving around in really funny tight circles?" So we started to leave the phone in the car when we went to the bathroom. So that's Glencoe. No snow at the time, but covered by a nice little shelter. That's one of the E-Volt rapid chargers run by Charge Your Car. We both started to really, don't get any wrong impression about that picture, but we both started to really fall in love with our rapid chargers.
I think we were just pleased to see them.
We were.
Very pleased by that.
And now this was our next sort of meet up with some folk. This was down at Hamilton Services, the M74, just outside Glasgow. So that guy's got a Leaf. He came from Edinburgh College, and that guy had a Vauxhall Ampera. It was about 10:30 at night. They'd followed us on social media. They left their warm sofas and drove 10, 15, 20 miles to meet us at the services to give us a cup of coffee. We were absolutely gobsmacked. Really nice guys. Yeah, it was about 10:30 at night. That's one of the eco-tricity chargers with a green Union Jack on the back as well. When we got further down towards Cornwall, this was, so we set off at 10 o'clock, we'd driven through the night, and this was about 11 o'clock the following morning. And again, this was the services in Cornwall, pulled up to a rapid, and this black Leaf comes screeching around the corner. What's going on? And they jumped out and went, oh, we're so glad we found you. We've just had a babysitter come in. I've left work early. So this woman, her husband took the photograph. We'd never met them before, but they came up and said, it's amazing what you're doing. They were absolutely blown away. And we were just, again, gobsmacked that they take the time to come and visit us.
I think it was a general consensus as well, wasn't it? That, I mean, everybody engaged really well on social media, but there were so many people that not only came out to meet us, but there's so many people that were gutted that they just couldn't actually come and physically meet us as well.
Yeah.
The engagement was fantastic.
It was, yeah. It was really good. So then we got to Land's End. Yeah. What time was it at Land's End? It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He's froze.
He's frozen.
He's frozen. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So again, that's another eco-tricity charger. So they've got one all back.
Yeah, you're back.
So eco-tricity have got one at John O Groats and one at Land's End because it's an iconic place. Have I just done that tapping the screen?
Yes.
Anyway, so that's the results. John O Groats to Land's End was 28 hours and 38 minutes. So we stayed at Land's End for what? Ooh, 3/4 of an hour?
As long as that.
Yeah, just enough time to get the photographs and get charging and get going again, wasn't it?
And then we turned around. We really wished we'd booked a flight from Newquay, didn't we? Because just didn't really fancy driving back. So then on the way back, Land's End to John O Groats was a little quicker, 27 hours, 46 minutes. So in total we did 33 rapid charges at a grand cost of nothing. Zero cost. Won't always be zero cost, let's be honest, but at the minute it is zero cost. But we did have a cost. I think it was more than £67.14. So,
I think that's the thing as well, you start to value, you're not paying for the fuel at the moment, the electricity when you get to the charge point. So when you start paying the price of service station coffee and service station food, you start to begrudge it even more, but you think £5 for a sandwich, it's not even cost me that to get here in fuel.
And we were quite geeky. What were some of the things we were worried about with regard to the battery? Can you remember?
Yeah, the battery temperature. I think you had one of your devices plugged in that allowed us to monitor the battery temperature. So I think at one point we hadn't even left Scotland and the battery temperature was pretty high on the scale, so we were getting a bit worried at that point because we still hadn't left Scotland.
Yeah.
So I think we tried everything from removing the inspection plate to try and let more air into the battery.
Yeah.
Try and cool it down. We had the aircon, if I remember rightly, we had the aircon going.
It was
from Scotland all the way to John O Groats.
On maximum cold. There's one point because the thing with electric cars, if you rapid charge something like any electrical device, it creates heat and it gets warm. And if you discharge anything rapidly, it gets warm. So because we were constantly rapid charging and then driving and rapid charging, so the battery was constantly in this flux, which creates heat. So we were concerned. Nissan have built into the Leaf a safety that if it gets into the red zone, it won't allow you to rapid charge. So it cuts down the charge time to protect the battery. But we never actually got into the red zone, did we?
No, which, like I say, we were I think we were 2 bars away from it before we left Scotland. But I think that's testament to the battery technology because, like you say, we never hit that red bar at all throughout the rest of the trip.
No.
So.
But, so that was interesting because we were passionate. We didn't want to be restricted, so we had the aircon on maximum cold, and we both lost the feeling in our feet, didn't we?
We did indeed.
But
that's where my hat came in very handy.
Yeah.
I think from that picture you'll see my Aberdeen Angus hat, so I came in very handy.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. So very good. Right, now I have got a short clip that just summarises our whole trip. So it's only 2 minutes. As long as that, yeah. So, this is your handiwork, Chris.
Yeah.
So I won't rabbit over it because you know, self-explanatory.
This is on the web.
Yeah, this is on YouTube. And this chap walking up to the car, we said, look, we're filming. He went, well, what are you doing? Where are you going? We're like, I can't stop. I believe in standing. Like, not being rude, but again, yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know, to stop the car, put the camera, went on. So these are the places where we stopped. Now halfway down, I'll just turn it up a bit. We had a good features here tonight.
Hi Helen,
Helen.
this is especially for you. This is the way we found the charge cable. So we're going to be good boys and we're going to tie you up after other people. There you go, I'll give you a hand.
So Helen Lee, she runs an EV on Orkney. She was tweeting us, you make sure you tidy up the cables over the rabbit trails so they don't metal things out.
That's not Salford.
Well no, it's all it is Cornwall, but it's just and that was the services where the couple met us in Cornwall. We also called it a Nissan Leaf because they have a charge it on the routes. Chris, we've done it.
Yes,
We've done it.
1.5 miles to go.
This has been a bit mad. That's it basically.
You won't believe how many times I've heard that message.
So has anyone got any questions for me and Chris? Simon?
I've got the impression from that video that you avoided motorways. Is that true? And
No, we didn't. No, sorry, go on, Chris.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, I mean, we used them. A lot of that footage is from when we gone from Cornwall across to Land's End. So we were basically on the motorway most of the time. We were using all the motorway service rapid charges down the M8, if I remember rightly. So, yeah, we pretty much were on the motorway most of the time.
What was our average speed? Can you remember?
Oh, God.
No, not overall.
You've thrown me in that one.
No, didn't we both find, because we experimented, because we were in the car such a long time, but we found the most optimum speed for the maximum mileage was around 52, 53 miles an hour, wasn't it?
It was. But I was going to say as well, I think the majority of the time we did actually hit about 60, 65,
Yeah.
if I remember right.
Yeah.
So we were driving more high than the optimum, still getting good range.
So if we found the charge, if we had like, I don't know, 15 miles range left, and the next charger was 11 miles away, then we'd sort of put our foot down just to sort of make some time up. So, yeah.
Just, Jonathan, in terms of those of us that have electric cars, you know, things like you mentioned temperature of the battery going up. You know, we know you can't get enough charge into the battery in winter, you know, because the battery's cold. Because the battery was running hotter because you were using it, did that mean that when you got to a rapid charger, you were getting a higher charge than you would have done, you know, if it was just, you know, kind of charging cold?
Yeah, it did charge quicker when it was warm, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
We did get a bit more miles an hour quicker than normal.
Yes, it's all electric cars prefer a warm battery rather than a cold one. It just charges it quicker.
And having done it twice and obviously improved by about, is it 3% or something, or 4% on the second time, do you think if you did it a third time you could do it faster?
We do. I mean, sort of, we were talking this afternoon, if Nissan want to lend us the new 30 kilowatt hour Nissan Leaf, then I think we could definitely miss out, 3 or 4 rapids on the way down, probably.
Yeah.
So
we could double the range. We could double the range we travel on the motorway quite easily.
Yeah. So we're in talks with Nissan at the minute that they might be paying for a cameraman to do, and this is no insult to your video production, but to do a proper video and a proper sort of documentary about going just the one way. But I think this time we definitely want to fly back from.
That's just soft.
It was pretty nuts. But the good thing is, I mean, because we said we'd done what we'd done with Guinness World Book of Records, who are being a bit of a pain at the minute because they don't want to mark it as a record because it can encourage people to race on public roads. But the thing is, they've okayed a world record in the States for going from east to west with the Tesla. But reading between the lines, we could have paid, I think it's £5,000 to have someone at John O Groats with a clipboard from Guinness and someone at Land's End with a clipboard from Guinness, and then probably then they might recognise it. I don't know. But we've submitted it for free, and I think you're in email talks with them, aren't you? Just trying to make them see sense. But the good thing is that 2 weeks after we did it, a chap who had bought a Tesla Model S at about £90,000 each. He said this, he says, "We believe we've now set the record for Land's End to John O Groats an electric car in 19 hours, 46 minutes. And they were basically going, nah, to us. We were going, great, it's fantastic. But not everybody's got £90,000 to spend on a Tesla Model S. So the fact that they've done it is great. And we just say bring it on, let more people do it. Because it just proves that with some planning, we can drive the length of the country. So electric cars are here to stay. They're not a fad. They're not just a flash in the pan. With a bit of planning and some very close friendship and lots of Lynx body spray, you can do a 50-hour trip with someone who you get to know really well. We got on all right, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
We're
still talking.
Right.
So the infrastructure's only getting better. The range in electric cars is only getting better. I mentioned the new Leaf that's got a 30 kilowatt hour pack. It's just going to improve. Neil?
Yeah, I just wanted to, did you find all the chargers were okay, or did you have to get the sort of the supply company to intervene to turn them on again, or because everything's wrong with the one who's strongest tripping in?
I was actually just going to make that or ask that question to everybody to kind of guess how many charge points we had issues with, because a lot of people do publicise there's a lot of issues with chargers when they turn up, but there was 0 problems.
Yeah.
We didn't experience any issues when we turned up to a rapid charger at all.
No.
It was all smooth sailing.
Would you have had backups available, or if one had been broken, would you have been stranded?
Yeah, the route was planned, so if we knew that ahead using the map that's live and see if there's any charge point issues, the route was planned so we could actually stop at an earlier rapid charger, or we could just reduce our speed quite a bit so we can make it to the next rapid charger after that.
Yeah. In fact, the CEO of Ecotricity, that provide the majority of rapids in England, Dale Vance, he actually found out what we were planning to do. And because the Helmsdale Rapid, which is a long story, but it took nearly 10 months for it to be physically turned on. It was physically there in December, and it took till the following August, September, before it was actually physically switched on. And that was the missing link between getting from John O Groats down to Inverness. So once that was on, it was doable. And Dale Vance of Ecotricity was also keeping his eye on it. And when he found out what we were planning, he said, well, blow me, we were only days away from doing our own trip to prove the point. So he just said, look, we won't do it, we'll just give you all the support you need. So he gave us a 24-hour hotline mobile number to an engineer.
It's a mobile number to one of their on-call engineers.
Yeah, just in case anyone had to remotely reset a rapid, but it never happened. So, yeah.
The other thing as well is while we were on that trip, I think it was in total, 7 new rapid chargers went live during that trip.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Jonathan, was it?
Yeah. We've just got a question in the back of the audience.
Yeah, I'm not quite clear on your route from Inverness down to, say, Hamilton services.
Can you remember, Chris?
Well, roughly, just...
I'll try to. We basically went from John O Groats to Helmsdale. So every point here we rapid charged. We went down to Helmsdale to Inverness.
Yeah.
We then went from Inverness down to Fort William.
Yeah.
Oh, you went down.
And then from Fort William to Glencoe, Glencoe into Hamilton services.
That's it. Yes. Yeah. And on the way back, we took a slightly different route. We went Pitlochry, didn't we?
Yeah.
So we
and
tried
across to Aviemore.
Yeah. So we tried Aviemore on the way back, which is the route I take now when I'm driving the Leaf back up. It's just a nice route.
The A9.
Yes. Yeah.
The only reason why we didn't take that route on the way down, I think, was because the Aviemore rapid charger was being made live at 4 o'clock
that was
in the afternoon. We were setting off from passing the Aviemore rapid charger too early for us to use it.
So so a bit of planning. But that infrastructure's it's in there now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? How many people in the room are electric vehicle drivers owners? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Got 7 in the room, Chris.
Good on you.
I think it's about 25 people here.
37.
Cool.
27. 37. I've got 37 people here.
And do you know how many people on Periscope?
And on Periscope we have... Well, I can never quite work it out. It says 3, but sometimes there's more.
Yeah, there's generally a lot more.
Yeah. But this will stay live for 24 hours, so all the people will be able to watch it afterwards as well. So the last thing, I've got another video clip from our friend Robert, and it's called Volts for Oil. A lot of people say, well, you know, electricity is great in an electric car, but it only comes from a dirty, grey, coal-fired power station. So it's a common used argument. So you'll find this really interesting because it very succinctly says what the situation is after you've watched an advert. Sorry.
Put the kids in their seats. Put Google on your dog.
This advert
Just
will
type.
end
How's the traffic on the A1?
in now.
Wondering what that noise was. Was that a petrol engine?
A frequent and perfectly valid criticism about electric cars is that the power used to charge them comes from the national grid. We generate a lot of electricity by burning coal and gas. Burning coal is the dirtiest way of making electricity. Everyone knows that. No one disputes it except the Koch brothers in America, but they should be ignored as much as possible. It's one of the arguments Mr. Clarkson always cites. This is a coal-powered car, he says as he drives a Nissan Leaf. True, you can power electric cars from any kind of electricity, but between 30 and 40% of our electricity still comes from coal and gas. So is Mr. Clarkson correct? Sort of. One of the facts that is never mentioned by car manufacturers, the oil industry, the current government, and indeed Mr. Clarkson, is that we use a bit of electricity to refine crude oil. In fact, quite a lot of electricity. Okay, so much electricity that the oil industry has gone to great lengths to keep the figures out of the public domain. They no longer release the figures, but they did up until 2005. Thankfully, these figures were recorded by the United Nations Statistics Division. Now, it's important to point out that the refining process doesn't only produce petrol, diesel and jet fuel. It also produces tons of hydrogen and a myriad of gases and chemicals used in fertilizers, pharmaceuticals and plastics. When I visited an oil refinery to make an episode of Channel 5's How Do They Do It series, I noticed this huge substation next to the car park when I arrived. Here's an illustration of the thickness of my brain. I said to the camera crew, "I didn't know refining oil generated electricity." I was later disabused of this notion when the head of engineering at the refinery explained proudly that we use more electricity in a year than Coventry and Leicester combined. Yes, that's quite a lot of electricity. But how much, I hear you ask? Well, hang on a minute. Very importantly, these big UK refineries use so much electricity that they have their own dedicated feed from the nearest power station. In all three cases, the nearest power stations are coal-powered, so they are using the dirtiest form of electricity to refine the dirtiest form of fuel. No critic of electric cars ever mentions this rather glaring fact. In 2005, the most recent year that figures are available, the three big refineries in the UK used 5,600 gigawatt hours of electricity to refine oil. That's 5.5 billion kilowatt hours. The best guess of the amount of electricity needed to refine 1 gallon of petrol is somewhere around 4.5 kilowatt hours. That electricity has to come from somewhere. Just to put the figures into some sort of context, 5.5 billion kilowatt hours is enough to charge over 23 million electric cars to drive just short of 20 trillion miles. As Elon Musk of Tesla Motors said, we'd have plenty of electricity to power electric cars if we just stopped refining oil. So when it says 120 grams of CO2 per kilometre in the car advert, just remember there's been a little bit of CO2 produced before we get to the forecourt pump. Let's go, let's go.
So I just sort of sums up the argument that it's not green to run an electric car. And of course in Orkney, is it 104, 105%? 107% of electricity we're making more electric than we know what to do with. So running an electric car here on Orkney is extremely green. So thanks for listening. Thank you, Chris. You still there?
I'm still here.
Have you got any final questions? Because we've done 35 minutes. No one's fallen asleep. Any other questions for me or Chris? No?
No.
Okay. Well, thanks very much for listening. Thank you, Chris.
Before Chris goes, can we just take a picture of you beside him? Just for the website. In fact, if you pick Chris up, just stand in front of the audience.
Picking you up in a very manly way.
Just like being back in the car, John.
Don't talk about that.
Just bring your order bit. You know, sorry, no, him.
So he's getting the limelight.
Great, thank you. Right, thanks very much, Jonathan and Chris.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
So we're now going to move on from using electricity to storing electricity, and we're delighted that John, good planning. John Perry's come across from a company, Denchi, which is based in Caithness, and I'm sure John will introduce us to what they do and how they do it. But we're really delighted that you've come across here to Orkney to address OREF. And as we know, energy storage is, as Jonathan's pointed out, we've got more electricity than we know what to do with. And what's for sure is that storage is going to be part of that solution in the future. And it at the moment we've got a 1 megawatt battery in at the power station, and other people are experimenting with smaller systems. But this will give us an idea of where battery technology is, and maybe some of the ideas that can help both at the household level and maybe at the larger scale level as well. And obviously, being from just across the Firth, it's almost a homegrown solution as well, which is always dear to our hearts as well. So I think we're just therefore, without more I do. We'll pass on to John and give you the floor.
Good stuff, thank you. Well, thanks very much, of course, to Jonathan and Chris for that very inspirational talk. I mean, there's definitely two guys there that don't suffer range anxiety in any way whatsoever. I was just thinking that when I came in there on the ferry into St Margaret's Hope, it was absolutely beautiful, and driving up to Kirkwall, of course, was unbelievable. I mean, I have stories that Orkney, it's I mean, Caithness is bad for wind, but Orkney, they have masses of wind. So, beautiful drive up, fantastic sunset. I was thinking that I came into Kirkwall Bay, I paddled into Kirkwall Bay, into the harbour there in the 90s, in the noughties. I sailed into Kirkwall Bay, and today I'm driving into, well, not exactly Kirkwall Bay, but I'm staying down there in the harbour. But yeah, thanks for inviting me, thanks to the board, thanks to Frances for setting this up as well, wherever she is, and Ian too. I'll try to see if this works. Maybe not. So, who am I? My name is John Perry. I graduated from Robert Gordon's. I did an MBA after doing a degree in electronics and electrical. Did 30 years really designing sort of a specialist piece of electronic products for the military sector, and that's really the basis of Dentry Power. That's the history behind Dentry Power. I started off doing RV CCTV systems in sonar, lighting, comms umbilicals, and that gives you a good feeling for working in harsh environments. Also in hunt class vessels, looking for mines. So what happens is these things chuck an ROV over the back and have a look around for mines, lay a charge next to them, blow them up. So lots of complicated electronics in that, again for harsh environments, and now that's moved on to autonomous vehicles, which of course need lots of batteries. Dentry Power started off life way back in 1999, set up, and really it's a spin-off from Doonray. What happened was AE Technology actually owned the very original lithium-ion patent. So, along with Good Enough, we, rather than just going ahead and making the best use of it, we thought, oh, well, this seems like it's okay, but licensed it to Sony, of course, who made 1 or 2 pennies out of it in the process. But towards the end of the patent's life, he decided to set up a battery factory in Thurso, and really that was the start of it. It's the cell division in '99. Then 2001, they started making battery packs. Since about 2001 to 2014, there's been many owners. But in 2014, there was an MVO, and the direction changed. Rather than just focusing on manufacturing stuff for the military sector, now started investing a lot of cash in engineering and product development. So most of the sort of work that Dentry's been doing is in the military sector up until 2014. So the company was really made on the back of the dismounted soldier. So UK mod and it's the very first Internet of Things, where we had distributed power through a comms network, the Bowman network, which allowed the soldiers in theatre to work out where everybody was and maximise the amount of communication. So that's HF comms, and on the back of that, we have the ability to, if you have some data which you want to get back and you can't do direct comms, you can just hop from one radio to the next. That's the Bowman philosophy. VHF comms, which is line of sight, so the soldier sort of if you can see the person, you've got high quality VHF comms, and that demands a certain amount of power, which the soldiers carry on them, which is quite crucial. HF comms, which is over the hill, and that's a bit of grunt behind that, so lots of battery power for that. But these are all smart. These are not cells stuck in a box. Yes, there are cells stuck in a box in the sense that, but they are all smart. The host talks to the battery pack, and so we're no longer thinking about batteries as being little units that you stick in your torch or your or whatever. These are items which the host has a chat to it, asks it, can it transmit, should I really be receiving now, is it better for me to go on standby? So they're starting to become intelligent, and there's a two-way communication between the two. If we take that a bit further, this is the standard soldier's Osprey vest, and that's the armour pouch at the back there, and this is the armour, front and back. So one of the recent projects that we just recently finished is the inclusion of power in the vest. So the Osprey vest now becomes again connected, and we're reducing the amount of power that the soldier needs because we now develop this central energy source. So rather than having a battery pack now for his weapon sight, for his VHF comms, for his situation awareness information, he now is able to, of the central energy source, and on the back of the vest, he now has what they call spline I should say, which is really a fabric within the vest that allows the distributed power to any place. So they've got a number of connectors on the vest. So if he wants, for example, to take some